This presentation is for vets and vet-led teams carrying out the Animal Health and Welfare Pathway Annual Health and Welfare Review. It provides guidance and suggestions on recommended focus areas for biosecurity on sheep, cattle and pig farms. Content is split by species and provides a useful overview for vets working solely with a species and details on resources useful for vets who do not work exclusively with one species. Some slides may be useful to share with the wider practice team where they are supporting you in delivering reviews on farm. The Annual Health and Welfare Review gives vets the freedom to decide with farmers where to focus. As such, vets are incredibly important to the success of this programme. The contents of this presentation covers a brief overview of the Annual Health and Welfare Review, where to find official and practical guidance, biosecurity as an element of the Annual Health and Welfare Review, general prompts to help you discuss biosecurity topics with clients, sheep-specific biosecurity, cattle-specific biosecurity and pig-specific biosecurity, your recommendations and report requirements, farmer funding opportunities and where you can get further support. Links to useful resources which are provided within this video can be accessed in the YouTube description box below the video. You will need to exit full screen view to see these. These links are also provided on the AHDB web pages. We recommend watching this video in full before dipping into any additional resources you may require. The video is broken down into chapters with a unique reference number for each resource. For example, here 1.1 relates to Chapter 1, Link 1 in the resources list. Resource links will open in a new window. Official guidance on the Annual Health and Welfare Review can be found on the government web pages. These pages provide information for farmers on the eligibility criteria plus a 7-minute video demonstration on how to apply and how to claim payment. This video may be useful for the practice team to watch if they receive calls from farmers with queries about the review process. For vets, the web pages provide guidance on how to carry out the Annual Health and Welfare Review plus specific requirements for disease testing. It is essential that the official guidance is followed to ensure that farmers are able to claim the payment. If you or your clients have any queries on the Annual Health and Welfare Review or the wider Animal Health and Welfare Pathway Programme, you can contact the Rural Payments Agency. Contact details are on this slide. There are 5 separate 20-minute videos in this series designed to cover a mix of official and practical guidance on different aspects of the Annual Health and Welfare Review. This industry guidance should be used in conjunction with the official guidance and is not intended to replace it. Each of the 5 videos is divided into chapters to enable you to dip into relevant sections. The first 3 presentations cover species-specific guidance on health and welfare aspects for pigs, sheep and cattle, both dairy and beef. The final 2 videos cover biosecurity and details of the disease testing required for the review, with content split by species for user ease. Farm Vet Champions, provided through RCVS Knowledge, contains over 20 hours of continued professional development, or CPD, to support and empower vets to tackle antimicrobial resistance with online tools. Improved biosecurity is a target for the review. Encouraging farmers to assess biosecurity in their herds and flocks and identify their own individual areas for improvement is a great starting point. Some farms have excellent biosecurity and will need little time spent on this during the review. Other farms may have a number of areas of risk and it may be beneficial to spend more time on this topic. It is entirely up to the vet and farmer to decide what the farm's priorities are. There is opportunity to build on initial discussions and recommendations over the 3-year period where relevant. We will cover biosecurity risk areas for each species in more detail later. Improving biosecurity of the national herd and flock is a key aim of the pathway. The public funds being used for the pathway must provide public benefits. National biosecurity is becoming increasingly important for trade and exports and in supporting livestock farming to achieve UK targets on global priorities. It also forms an integral part of protecting the reputation of livestock farming. The Annual Health and Welfare Review provides an ideal opportunity to strengthen biosecurity across all farms and participating livestock species. Through the farm visit, your discussions, recommendations and agreed actions, this is a great opportunity to make a positive change where it matters. Farmers are also able to access further pots of funding through the Pathway grants. Details of these can be accessed through DEFRA web pages. These opportunities could be discussed with your clients and perhaps built into agreed achievable actions or food for thought for future visits. Good biosecurity starts with you. You and your practice team have a responsibility to demonstrate good biosecurity each time you visit a farm. You may wish to share this slide with your team, particularly if they are supporting you to deliver elements of the review. When organising a date for the visit, it may be helpful to determine what additional biosecurity risk reduction measures will be required. Ensure you adhere to on-farm policies on downtime between sites, for example being pig clean for 48 hours. Use facilities provided at the site to clean footwear and outerwear where applicable before leaving. You may wish to ensure your vehicle contains a hoof pick and brush to clean and remove debris trapped between treads on boots and Wellingtons, a foot bath and appropriate disinfectant. A list of approved disinfectants and dilution rates are available on the government web pages. Remember to check your vehicle is clean and remove any accumulated mud before your next farm visit. Common external biosecurity risk areas that you may wish to explore with your client to identify where your advice and an agreed action could help are provided on this slide. Animals are by far the biggest risk. Open questions covering these points are the best approach. You do not need to cover everything, just make progress which can be built on in subsequent visits or reviews. Areas to consider include purchasing policy, covering pre-purchase, in-transit, post-purchase isolation and management, semen, feed and haulage deliveries, farm visitors, covering staff including their vehicles, professional visitors, family and friends and their vehicles, footpaths and disposal of dead stock, wildlife, covering external farm boundaries, wildlife control measures, water supply and the avoidance of natural water courses, and separation from other farmed species. A reminder that it is illegal to feed kitchen waste and scraps to livestock. Likewise, a list of common internal biosecurity or biocontainment areas that you may wish to explore with your client using open questions are given on this slide. Areas include feed stores, including feeding practices and water trough maintenance, sheds, are they fit for purpose, wildlife proof and protected from fomite disease transfer between sheds and stock types, slurry management, looking at separation from stock, storage and spreading practices, isolation of sick stock, including availability, training to spot illness and water supply, and farm workers. You may wish to look at training, skills and numbers. Sheep-specific biosecurity. Some farms will have excellent biosecurity, others may have a number of areas of risk, and you may need to build a biosecurity plan from the basics. Assurance schemes cover approximately 50% of the sheep industry, and whilst assurance scheme content varies between schemes, assured farms should have several areas of biosecurity covered in their health plans. The following key areas are suggested for sheep. Firstly, a review of purchasing. This could cover the number and type of sheep purchased per year, their age and the source, whether health status is discussed with the vendor pre-purchase, and whether any pre-purchase checks are carried out. If yes, what? Quarantine plans, including the duration, location, and whether any disease tests are carried out, and what treatments and managements are given during quarantine. What screening and testing is carried out on the farm. Are they a member of an accreditation or monitoring scheme, and for which diseases? A review of farm boundary biosecurity. What security does the perimeter boundary have? Is it double fenced? Are there any geographical features maintaining separation? Are there any risks from neighbours, real and perceived? Whether there is use of common or shared grazing, including rented grazing or away wintering. How are returning sheep managed and are they quarantined? Are there any feral sheep in the area? Are there any risks around farm manure management and use, including use of external farm manure on farm? Are any contractors used? And what is the policy for visitors? Start with the basics and build. Don't let absolute progress get in the way of progress. The following are useful resources and quick links have been provided on the slide. DEFRA's Disease Prevention for Livestock web pages, Morden's fact sheet on biosecurity and their Battle of the Bugs animation, and CPD from RCVS Knowledge Farm Vet Champions platform. The biosecurity section of Red Tractor's health plan template, pictured on the right-hand side of this slide, may also be helpful. Cattle-specific biosecurity. Some farms will have excellent biosecurity, others may have a number of areas of risk, and you may need to build a biosecurity plan from the basics. Assurance scheme content on biosecurity will vary between schemes, but assured farms should have several areas of biosecurity already covered in their health plans. The following key biosecurity areas are suggested for cattle. Firstly, a review of the existing purchasing, quarantine and testing policies on the farm. Advice would be to investigate the health status of purchased stock if possible, quarantine on arrival, and test and vaccinate appropriate to the herd's current health status. When reviewing quarantine, include the duration, location, and what, if any, disease tests are carried out, what treatments and managements are given during quarantine. What routine screening and testing is carried out on the farm? Are they a member of an accreditation or monitoring scheme, and for which diseases? A review of farm boundary biosecurity in terms of double fencing and natural barriers is also recommended. Consider neighbouring stock, the possibility of direct nose-to-nose contact, the health status of neighbouring stock where known, and how best to manage this risk. Are there any risks around farm manure management and use, including the use of external sources of farm manure or where shared equipment and contractors are utilised? Finally, what are the policies for staff, contractors and visitors, and do these need a review? Start with the basics and build. Don't let absolute progress get in the way of progress. The following are useful resources: TB Hub's Practical Biosecurity Guidance, CHEC's Resources and Technical Guidance, Animal Health Island Biosecurity Programme, and AHDB's Biosecurity Advice and Cattle Purchasing Checklist. For dairy beef traders, it is acknowledged that there are additional challenges as a consequence of multiple cattle sources and mixing. It is therefore suggested that vets looking to improve biosecurity on these farms look to tackle common pathogen issues such as scour and pneumonia, reserving disease testing only where a specific need is identified. Pig-specific biosecurity. African swine fever is the current primary concern for the pig sector. Evidence shows that the biggest risk is contaminated pork products being eaten by a pig. This could be scraps from a kitchen or even a careless throw of a sandwich into a pen of pigs. Ensuring producers are feeding specially formulated commercial pig feed is key. This also ensures pigs receive a safe, easy, balanced diet. It is illegal to feed any food scraps from commercial or domestic kitchens. This includes vegan kitchens. Ensure biosecurity is tight, particularly with vehicles, animals and people coming onto the unit. AHDB has lots of resources available that can be downloaded in multiple languages. Quick links are provided on this slide. Check the biosecurity protocol with the farm you are visiting to see where improvements might be made. The latest African swine fever assessments and advice can be found on the gov.uk web pages. A quick link is provided on the slide. Some farms will have excellent biosecurity, others may have a number of areas of risk, and you may need to build a biosecurity plan from the basics. Although 95% of pigs are covered by assurance schemes, there are, however, more pig units that are non-assured than assured. Assured farms will have a biosecurity policy covering a designated biosecure area. Topics covered will vary between assurance schemes and may include incoming stock, including semen, feed sourcing, people and vehicles, including workers and visitors, vermin control and dead stock. Outdoor units have to have a plan to minimise access of wild animals to pigs and measures to prevent disease transfer between batches. Some assurance schemes additionally require farms to be signed up to the AHDB Significant Diseases Charter. A guide to biosecurity on pig farms can be found on the AHDB web pages. A quick link to this and the Significant Diseases Charter can be found on the right of this slide. Areas to cover in a basic biosecurity plan include incoming stock, feed sourcing, people, vehicles, vermin control, mixing with domestic and wild animals, manure and slurry, presence of other farms and dead stock. For pig farms that already have the basics sorted, it may be useful to explore the following 3 additional areas. The risk from farm slurry spread on farm or on adjacent land, the risk from slurry spread for others with the same equipment or personnel, the presence of wild boar or feral pigs locally, and the number of pig units within 1 km and 5 km. These are areas that may be neglected on farms that have good biosecurity. As part of the review, you must set agreed achievable actions with the farmer, tailored to the individual farm with clear targets. These must be reviewed at the next annual review, if not before. Your advice, recommendations and agreed actions must be included in the written report you provide for the farmer. Based on individual farm needs, you may wish to set some easy wins and stretch targets. You could include a biosecurity element in these targets. As per previous slides, a relevant grant opportunity may assist. When you agree actions with the farmer at the review, encourage them to consider if grants offered by the government could help them in carrying out these actions to achieve health and welfare improvements. Grants provide up to 40% of the costs, are accessible to farmers that are not in receipt of the Basic Payment Scheme funds, and to farmers with or without an annual health and welfare review. However, applications for grant funding that demonstrate genuine need for specific pieces of kit following advice from the vet and are linked to an annual health and welfare review are viewed advantageously. 2 types of grant are offered through the pathway: farming equipment and technology grants and infrastructure grants. Both are part of the Farming Investment Fund, and details can be found on the Farming Investment Fund gov.uk web pages. The farming equipment and technology grants provide match funding for equipment and technology items which improve the health and welfare of sheep, pigs, dairy and beef cattle, laying hens and broilers. Infrastructure grants fund transformational projects that enable farmers to achieve higher levels of animal health and welfare. The initial offer co-funds new and upgraded calf housing to improve social contact and the ambient environment. In time, the offer will be extended to include grants for adult cattle, pig and poultry housing. Farmers need vet advice to apply for this grant. The Annual Health and Welfare Review provides this. For the latest updates on both grants, follow the DEFRA Farming blog. Further government funding to prevent and reduce endemic diseases and conditions will be available in 2024 through disease eradication and control programmes offered through the pathway. A number of organisations are supporting the rollout of steps within the animal health and welfare pathway and are providing material to support both farmers and vets. The organisations on this slide are useful sources of advice and technical guidance. For support with effective communication, it is worth knowing that Farm Vet Champions provides vets with 3 hours worth of CPD divided into handy bite-sized sections. A reminder that if you or your clients have any queries on the review or the wider animal health and welfare pathway process, you can contact the Rural Payments Agency. A quick continued professional development reminder to add 20 minutes to your CPD record after viewing this presentation. Add additional time if you viewed other presentations in this series or clicked into further resources. The RCVS 1 CPD link has been included on this slide for quick access. Thank you for watching this video. If you have a spare 20 minutes now, you could follow the resource links on this slide to view another video in this series, or dip into resources on the RCVS Knowledge Farm Vet Champions website.